from today is Christmas Day. It won't be long before we hear those sleigh bells ringing on the roof. So we thought it'd be a good time to give Christmas shoppers a crash course in what Santa is being asked for this Christmas. Here to talk to me about the toys that are going to, I suppose, have our children excited on Christmas Day are Sheena Horgan, Youth and Social Marketing Consultant, and Maurice Doyle, General Manager of Banba Toymaster. Maurice, if I can start with you first. A month ago to Christmas, obviously Santa is going to be extremely busy in the coming weeks. What kind of toys are causing a stir at this stage?
Okay, well, for the boys, really, it's still Lego Transformers, WWE wrestlers. For the girls, it's Monster High. There's also sort of the Zaff dolls and the Baby Born dolls as well. They're quite popular.
Baby Born's a big one in my house, all right, at the moment. So there's lots of letters being written to Santa looking for them. Right,
yeah. Well, some of them are very difficult to get now at this stage. The elves have stopped manufacturing at this stage of the year, so it's a case of grab it while you can.
Okay, the toys, I mean, are they... in the main, are they kind of high tech, or are some traditional toys coming back into favour, aren't they?
There's a lot of traditional toys. Okay, the high tech, yes, like you've still got the kids who want their the pads, like the likes of the pad from VTech and the Leap pad from Leapfrog. But you still get a lot of kids looking for traditional, or the parents are looking for more traditional toys. We would have a lot of role play. Like for the boys, there would be the farm sets. That throughout sort of the country, we have found that in Toymaster especially, there's a big demand for farming equipment, whether it be tractors, whether it be the smaller sets like the barn, the small animals, that the kids can actually.
Which maybe you wouldn't have got 10 or 15 years
wouldn't
ago?
Have been as popular, no, because with the hype in electronics over the last sort of 15, 20 years, that's slowed down. There has been nothing until this year to sort of, entice people to it. So definitely more value for money, longevity of play. Parents are certainly looking for that value.
Okay, let's bring in Sheena Horgan, Youth and Social Marketing. So we'll come back to some of those toys that are causing a stir for this Christmas in a moment. But Sheena, interesting to see some of the toys coming back. Furbies, Lego. I mean, Lego's been around for I don't know how long.
Lego's been donkey's years. Lego's a great success story actually for the toy industry, because toys, in fairness, toy sales are going down, and Hasbro and Mattel have been reporting year on year not profit losses, but reduced profits for the last few quarters. But having said that, Lego has reinvented itself, I think, by looking at a female version. Now, while I'm not overly a fan of it having to be a beauty salon and everything else, girls can build bridges and Taj Mahals and whatnots as well. But, fair play to Lego for kind of persevering and for reinventing itself to a degree, and it still really resonates. Interestingly, there's a load of research that Deloitte produce around December every single year, looking specifically at the Irish market, and they would say that we've a real bent towards educational toys, but also quite strong on traditional. Not as strong as the Germans would be around traditional toys, but still, exactly as Mara said, the parents quite like that traditional idea, and Lego sits in there along with Furby, which has been going since.
So is there a kind of a sentimental
70s,
thing attached to Christmas as well, that we like to see our kids playing with presents that maybe we would have?
There's an element of, you have to think who's purchasing the toys apart from Santa. It's aunts, uncles, grandparents and the like. And certainly from grandparents' point of view, there will always be that traditional element and that kind of sentimental piece. The toy industry will talk about evergreen toys, and they're the kind of ones like Scooby-Doo. So Scooby-Doo is around. I'm 45. It was been around since I was a kid. I don't know when it started, but it's at least 45 years old.
I think it must
and
be,
it's still resonating. And the one thing I would say about technology is, isn't it great that it has brought these toys a new angle to them? So you have your soft toys, you have your digital games, you have your apps, you have your kind of slightly electronic. So there's an element of reinvigoration, which is a good thing.
Okay, one toy I wasn't so happy to see coming back was the Furby, which I know when my nieces were girls and they're young women now. I mean, they were huge, and they've come back. And
they were. I have a funny story about Furbies. I remember being kind of in London in my 20s, so pre-children and all the rest, and there was this furore from my sister over in Dublin because they couldn't get hold of Furbies for love nor money, and so I was shipping over Furbies from London when I came back on the 23rd of December, whenever it was.
There.
So it was actually, could have had a little sideline, but Furbies, Cabbage Patch dolls, I think think will be.
Yeah,
they've
they were back as
occasionally
well. Yeah.
reappeared, resurrected themselves.
Maurice Doyle, one thing about Furbies is you want to have about 500 batteries to keep them going.
Yeah, well, they can be quite conversational, to say the least. That they, the more you speak to them and the more you interact with them, the more they will learn back and the more they will speak back to you. But
Yeah, kids
that's the
absolutely
fun.
love them.
That's
Kids
the fun of it.
absolutely
Yeah,
love them,
absolutely.
don't they? Let's go through some of the top toys from Toymaster this year. Britain's Farm Set, you mentioned. Lego, we've spoken about. The Silly Moo board game.
The Silly Moo, yeah, that's taken off again this year. Basically, it's a cow, and you feed, I suppose it'd be her, milk, and your players take turns in pulling the others, and it would lay cow pats. Basically, what happens then is whoever pulls the other that catches the golden cow pat wins the game.
There's a big agriculture bent in
No,
some
there
of the,
is.
some of the presents this year.
Yeah.
Transformers Cyberverse vehicle.
Yes. Now that's just a range of Transformers, as you know. The big ones this year are the new releases, which would be the Cyberverse and the Beast Hunters. But that Cyberverse, it's great value. It's under €15. And the kids are really into the Transformers again.
Okay, is that, and at the risk of being accused of being sexist, is that mainly boys that are going for those?
It is, and like boys tend to go towards those things. You will very rarely see a boy going and buying a pram or something like that. But they do go for action figures. Anakin Skywalker, in the Star Wars range, there's a full size figure of him. But generally, it will be boys for the Transformers.
Okay, the first talking Sophia doll and Animal Friends and my model styling head, they seem to be big as well.
Yeah,
this year.
the styling head has made a comeback this year.
Which is what basically you get to.
You get the torso, and you can style the hair, and you can put on the makeup and lipstick and things like that. So it's good for the kids.
I remember that one so well.
Yeah.
So well. That brings me back, I think.
And Sheena, where do you stand on those kind of toys that are very much aimed at girls and they're pink and they're very sort of girly? Is that? I mean, some politically correct people say we shouldn't be doing that. We should be getting more.
I know. You have this debate
toys
every year. At the end of the day, there's a huge difference between boys and girls in many regards. So I don't have a problem with some toys being kind of quite focused. I do with, say, the likes of maybe the Legos or some of the construction toys. The assumptions that are made, I think, with regards to the toy companies and the marketing. And having said that, they're almost kind of falling on their own swords in that. I think for Hasbro, sales of boys' toys fell by 35%, while those of girls were rising by 43%. So you're kind of going, there's an opportunity there to do something. I think there's also a lot of value in all sorts of toys, especially the likes of the role play. Kitchens are unisex toys really, but they tend to be marketed towards girls. And there was a great report, Let Toys Be Toys campaign, I think around this time last year. And they were looking specifically around the gender issues and how the colours had changed. So even a simple thing like packaging and colours. So I do take a bit of offence around that. At the end of the day, I don't want to be overly PC with it either though, because, there is a mixed match. Boys love tea sets. I have godsons. I've
girls
tea
do
sets
like
for.
pink things as well, don't they?
And they do.
Yeah.
I have 4 girls, and yes, a couple of them are big into their pink.
Yeah. What about the traditional board games? Are they still big?
Oh yeah, getting bigger.
What
as well,
are we talking? Cluedo, Monopoly, all the usual.
Yeah, Cluedo, Monopoly, Connect 4, Risk. Just all the board games really making a comeback because the sense of play value around the table after Christmas dinner or whatever, rather than sending little Johnny up to his room to play his computer game that he got.
Yeah, something the whole family can do together.
Well, I have a story actually as well from last year that a grandmother came in looking for a particular computer game for their child, and we don't sell the computer games. We go for more traditional toys. So I said, well, I have a Scale Electric set upstairs which has the same name. So I brought her up, showed her.
Yeah.
It was a slight bit more expensive. My question was, what would you like to see your grandson doing? Going up to his room and playing this computer game on his own, or setting up the Scale Electric and everybody in the house
a race against his brother or his dad or
his grandfather? And she just grabbed the Scale Electric set and said, sold.
Yeah.
So the play value is definitely...
You've brought in a couple of dolls that caught my eye as well. There's the Apple White doll. What's that one?
Yeah, well, that's been released this year now. I reckon that'll really take off next year. Basically, these are Ever After High, taking after Monster High, which have been around for the last couple of years, which are Draculaura, Frankenstein. They're all horror characters. The Ever
This
After
is in
High.
keeping with this kind of vampire films
that's
and
it.
stuff. Yeah.
And believe it or not, more third level education kids are coming in to buy these than
Okay.
children.
Why does that not surprise me?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Ever After High, they're the daughters of the likes of Snow White. There's Apple White. There's the Huntsman's daughter, and there's the evil Queen's daughter. They all go to university and college, and they have predetermined, lives set out for them. But
Okay,
some
so
of
this
them,
is like almost like the old fairy tale, kind of given a modern age, basically.
And the thing about it is the conflict that these children don't necessarily want to be who they have been set out to be. So the evil queen's daughter doesn't want to be an evil queen, and she wants to be something better. So it's all based on that.
Okay, tell us about one more of the games. The Gooey Louie one, that looks like a good one.
Gooey
What's that about?
Louie, okay, well, exactly, it's one of these games that
what it says on the tin?
you pick his nose, and basically, you have to be careful what you're pulling, or the amount you're pulling out of his nose, otherwise his brain will explode.
Okay, so not for the
not for the faint-hearted,
that
exactly.
one.
No.
Sheena, I suppose the interesting question is, what makes a toy, a hit toy? Is it the power of advertising? I mean, why do kids collectively decide, I want a Cabbage Patch doll, or I want a certain type of...
It's a mixture. It's a lot of things. The toy industry will talk about transmedia selling, and that's really taking the advertising, taking a character and really evolving it. So it could be something that's on TV, on movie, digital, and then a toy as well. So it's trying to cross as many channels and platforms as possible. So because of that, you have all the marketing that goes with that. So that certainly resonates with kids. Bearing in mind that Irish children and Western children in general consume a huge amount of media, and particularly TV and everything else as well as the online space. So it's a constant barrage, I suppose, of messages and ideas and notions. But at the end of the day, a good toy is a good toy. The ones that will really last and resonate, I think, which is like Monopoly, is one of those classic ones that still keeps coming. The Rubik's Cube reinvented itself as well. The play value will also come through, very much so. There will always be trends. We're kind of a marketing media-centric type of environment. There will always be trends like that, but the really good play value.
Okay, just before I let you go, tell me your favourite Christmas toy that you got, your favourite toy from Santa over the years.
It was a doll called Sheena doll, which had really long hair. You could pull out the top of her head and it grew.
Okay, and the same name, of course.
The same name.
Maurice, do you have one?
Yeah, I do. Actually, one I remember is Linka, and it was basically a moulding set where you made plaster cast walls, so you could build castles yourself.
Very creative.
Build churches and things like that. It was brilliant.
Okay, mine was Sabutio, which
Still
I still
have it.
think is... Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Oh, very good. Okay, listen, my thanks to Sheena Horgan, Youth and Social Marketing Consultant, and to Maurice Doyle, General Manager of Banba Toymaster. Just a month to go to Christmas. It's getting very exciting.